All right, in this video, I'm going to be walking you through exactly how I scaled a trading mentorship from 58,000 cash collected to 30 days later doing $120,000 in the same month with the same ad spend, with the same amount of posts, with nothing different but the sales team, the operations, and how we run the ship. So let's start at where our starting point. So we started with this client at 58,695 cash collected. When I came in, first thing I always like to do is look at the metrics of the sales team and how they're performing. Close rate, 37%. Industry standard, not bad. Cash-based average order value, 1,900. Again, not too bad. Show rate, 51%. Could use work. Cash per live call was in the bin, $700. So the initial that I did was I planned out what we need to improve the most. So I knew that close rate could be improved hugely. I also knew that cash per call, so cash per call could be improved hugely as well. So these were going to be my two focuses. So no more pay plans. So I told all the closers what I want you to do is focus on just going for PIFs. Second thing is I went one-on-one and I created 3 calls with the closers that they had there at the moment. And then what I also did is I brought in one of my own closers who was an absolute killer. So I knew that I could see whether it was a rep issue or whether it was a lead flow issue. Because I didn't know these reps, right? I didn't know how good they were. So I brought in a guy who I could trust, who I knew was really good, especially in the trading niche, to test what was wrong with the offer. The other thing I did was market analysis. So I looked at other traders who were doing really well. Mamba, for example, who I knew was doing around 500,000 a month, and then TGR, who I knew was doing multiple millions. I looked at their funnel, I looked at their sales process, I looked at their closing calls, and I thought, what is working here that I can emulate and implement into this business? So what I did is I made some key takeaways and I identified growth opportunities. So one of the biggest things that I noticed was that within the trading niche, you get a lot of top of funnel people who don't have the biggest intent and who don't really understand the process. So they're a lot more likely to show up, cancel, or just be broke. So what I did is I came up with a solution to this. Is we looked at the reps, we realized that one of the reps was underperforming, so we let him go. And then the other rep decided to leave just because it wasn't his time and it wasn't the right offer for him with the stage he was at. So we went down to one rep, and what I did was I made a ghost calendar. So with the show rate being 50%, what I realized was if we have 2 calls on every single booking, every single slot, what's going to happen is our rep is guaranteed to take a call at every single slot. Well, almost, obviously. Maths isn't always perfect. But what it meant is it meant that we were able to get a confirmed call in every single slot and cancel and reschedule the other if we had 2 double confirms. The one thing with this process is it's heavily reliant on the dials. So what I did as well is I brought in a killer dialer who I knew personally and who was working on one of my other offers to go with the other dialer that we had, who was an absolute G. And what I made them do is I made them only triage. So only triage and calendar manage. And what this meant was that every single day our calendar was dialed in and exactly the way we'd want it to make sure that our rep knew what calls he was taking. He didn't need to do anything except turn up and close the fucking calls. And what this resulted in was a much higher close rate, much higher show rate, and also a much higher cash collected because all our rep had to do was focus on closing deals. And what I did from here was I monitored and I adjusted. So as you can see here, what ended up happening was we'd book a lot of calls. We wouldn't book that many calls on certain days, but the majority of them would show. And then we'd also close a large majority of them. And because our rep was so focused on his closing skills, his cash collection went up so much because all he had to do now was focus on closing and objection handling and getting better at the skill of closing. And then from there, what we did is we increased marketing efforts. So once we noticed that not only were we closing more deals, but our cash collection was up, our show rate was up, and we knew that we had room to book a shit ton of calls, is we launched ads. So we launched follower ads. The purpose behind follower ads, the reason that we launched follower ads in specific is because it allows the content, well, the client, sorry, to engage and consume. So it allowed them to consume our content. So what this means is the people that we're getting from ads, by the time we get them onto a call, they are the same as an organic lead. right? So you're getting the exact same outcome as if it was organic. Because eventually, let's say 2 weeks on from opting in the ad, they've forgot about the ad. And all they remember seeing is the creator's content. So now you've converted that cold traffic into what would be an organic lead. And what this resulted in for us was these stats. So our show rate remained pretty much the same, but obviously because we were running a ghost calendar, it meant that our closer was happy because he was taking a ton of calls. And it also meant that he was able to close a lot more consistently. So as you can see here, we got the close rate up to 50%. So looking back to where we started, so it jumped up 13%. Show rate also went up 3%. And the cash per live call. So we went from $700 to 1,300. So we doubled the cash per live call. So every single live call that we took now is 2 times what it was worth before. Our cash-based order value as well. So it used to be 1,900. So that's went up $700. So for every call that we take now, we're making twice as much as we were before I came onto the team. And for every order we take, our offer owner is making $700 more on average than he was before. And what this meant is that every call we were booking in, our closer was looking forward to it, our team was looking forward to it. So what that meant is they were really bought in and they were ready for a big push, right? And what ended up happening because of this is morale is high. And when morale is high, what happens is you book more calls, you close more deals, and everybody makes more money. So what the focus was for me is making sure that everybody in the team was happy, was making money, and was getting what they needed done so that we could make as much as humanly possible. Then, next thing was enhance the customer engagement. So, what do I mean by this? I mean increasing the quality of combos, so increasing the quality of the setters conversations, increasing the dialing conversations, and then also increasing the closing call conversations. Because one thing with trading is a lot of people don't have the full investment for the high ticket. So what you end up doing is downselling them. But what you can do with downselling is you can nurture, because it's trading, right? It's very volatile. And at the same time, it's extremely profitable. So what ended up happening was we had a lot of people who would then upsell, right? And another thing that I noticed as well when I jumped on this offer was we had a lot of debt. So we had a lot of people who owed us a shit ton of money. So people who'd bought in for, say, 1K, maybe 2K, and they just hadn't paid it off. So what I did is I made a list where people could call them and we could chase these debts. And what that ended up doing is adding around about 30K CC to what we were doing. And what this resulted in was a huge increase in cash collection, a huge increase in happiness within the reps, and a huge increase with commission checks as well. So what ended up happening was we ended up finishing on $133,000 for the month. So looking back at where we were, so 58,000 to then 133,000. And all we did was make a few simple and small changes. Double booking the calendar, increasing our cost, our cash per call, removing payment plans that were unnecessary. So making the payment plans more expensive, doing one-to-ones with reps, having group calls with the reps, and just really dialing them in to get their close rate as high as possible. And the amazing thing is we didn't get any more leads this month than we did the month before. Maybe slightly more with the follower ads, but all from organic. We had the exact same number of leads, but we made more than double what we made the month before. So if you're looking to double or even triple where you're at right now with your offer, shoot me a DM on Instagram and I'll show you exactly how I could scale your offer to double what it's doing right now.